As one gamer to others, when people play Pantheon, my desire is very early on in the experience that the player would look around and see something compelling and ask, how in the world do I get there? How in the world could you ever get there?
This week, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen conducted their monthly Q&A with Chris Joppa Perkins, the creative director, and Mina as content creator. These live Q&As, called Partin the Veil, pull from community questions and talk about high-level things in development for the game. The fact that these are high-level and not currently things that are being worked on was something that was reiterated at the very beginning of the stream. Most of the things that are going to be covered in these Q&As is going to be stuff that is not on the road to alpha. So if it is not on the road to alpha, it's not something that's currently being worked on. Things like the previous Q&A, which covered mounts and taming, are something that are for the future. At one point, it was mentioned that some things could be as far off as, beta. And don't take any of that like too big. Just the main takeaway here is that this is not stuff that the team is working on right now, unless it is on the road to alpha. So that road to alpha you get every month in the newsletter. That's where you're going to get the most up-to-date information on what the team is currently working on what the next things that the team is going to be completing. But that's not to say that this is feature creep. This is to say, like, these things that they are covering in the Parting in the Veil are what make Pantheon Pantheon. They are things that have been part of the core concepts of the game from the beginning. And the high-level concepts covered in this month's Q&A felt like an extension of last month's Q&A, where last month we talked about traveling, specifically about mounts and taming. And in this one, we talked about items, unique items, and abilities that are also tied to travel. So let's break down those two things. Imagine you're falling behind your rogue into the deep depths of a dungeon you haven't explored yet. Your rogue has taken point because they have a very important, very special drop. The Boots of 5 Feathers. You're about to find out why those boots go by another name as your rogue rounds the next corner, a name of legend that is whispered on the wind. Your rogue takes a step, freezes. There's a click and a shuddering sound. And all of a sudden, the ground falls out from beneath them. They've triggered a trap, but lo and behold, your rogue hasn't fallen into the spikes below. They're able to quickly scamper to safety opposite the trap, turning to face you with a broad grin, tapping their boots. Woohoo! The boots of, oh shit, I found a trap. This part of the discussion covered items that have unique traversal related effects, like the aforementioned boots. It allowed you to briefly hover should the ground disappear beneath you, or a shield that could reflect back certain things, and a crown that shined light in the darkest of places, which may come in handy, especially for some of the races in Terminus that are not as well equipped to deal with dark light. It conjured memories of items in EverQuest that provided enduring breath or instant invisibility, items that had their own identity. Speaking of those items, they may have popped up in your mind without me even mentioning them by name. We have unique items that have their own identity, and we have mounts. We also have climbing, but there's more to traversal than that. And perhaps that rogue may have an extra trick up their sleeves to help with that sudden trap. Now revisit with me that trap. Perhaps you, in your eagerness to fight the big bad boss of ultimate loot at the end of the dungeon, followed a little too closely to your rogue scout. As the floor fell out from beneath you both, you tumbled forward, falling deep into the hole. But you're a little bit lucky because your thick plate armor protects you from the spike. You survive, but there's a problem. You're now stuck at the bottom of this pit. The rogue's item allowed them to hurry up to the other side, but you weren't so lucky. You didn't attend the event where they got the boots because you were busy attending a wedding in the real world.
And there was much rejoicing.
As you sit there cursing the newlywed couple and their audacity to get married on a Saturday, a rope drops down. Your rogue has used a class-specific ability to get you out of your predicament, one that is unique to them. He's able to rescue you from certain death, or at least replacement in the group as they moved on without you. But you're not completely finished. because you're left with another conundrum. You and the rogue are on one side of the hole in the floor. The rest of your group is back on the other side, unable to reach you. It's too far to jump, and climbing down really isn't an option, because if they could try to drop down like you did, but they're not wearing the same heavy armor, and things might get a little rough. That's when the druid steps forward, the one you considered not bringing because you really wanted a cleric. They weave together the bonds of nature, forming a vine bridge across the chasm. They and the rest of your party easily walk across and join you on the other side. As a group, you have overcome this challenge and you're delving into the dungeon. You did it with a combination of unique items and unique class abilities and a little bit of forethought. The necromancer of the group will just have to wait another day to raise his undead army from your corpses. But danger is just around the corner. A moment's triumph could turn at any moment. Now, what story will you tell about this dungeon delving experience? A scenario like this is what came to mind as Joppa and Midas discussed both class-specific abilities and items, that was horizontal elements in exploration. It conjured great Dungeons and Dragons type vibes for me, a ways to experience the game and create memories and excitement that don't involve direct combat. While this may not play out exactly this way in game, the abilities mentioned, the Rogue Rope and Vine Bridge from the Druid, are abilities that were mentioned on the stream, alongside the Summoner's Raft Summon. By far, the abilities were more interesting to me than the items. While items have the distinct ability to create haves and have-not, if they could be event-based, as was alluded to in the stream, the abilities represented intentional choice and strategic decision-making. If that druid hadn't been in the group and they'd had a cleric, what would the group have done? What if the rogue hadn't trained their rope skill? How would that group have overcome this challenge? What do you think about this recent Q&A? Are you excited about the potential of these kind of traversal mechanics? Is it something that you would like to see in your MMO? Or do you have concerns? Do you have concerns about how they will work? Let us know down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, if you want to leave a like on this video, it would mean a ton to me and it really helps out the channel. But if you ever want to discuss this live with me and Desrin and Man of Rohan, we are live on the Pantheon Plus channel over on Twitch every month after Partin the Veil, hosted by Visionary Realms. So come and chat with us. We're really not that scary, I promise. If you want to catch up on the last Partin the Veil, the one that I alluded to, talking about mounts and taming and was kind of a really big thing for Pantheon to release, I've got this video right over here. It's kind of an interesting one. Yeah, I got a lot of, for that one, so DnD was this one, but that one I was thinking about Ultima Online a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Your time is a gift and I value it very much. I really appreciate you being here and I look forward to seeing you again soon.